all the buggies, the War Boss, Workshop, data cards, and dice.
Spiking bits.
Welcome to a special edition unbox and build. Of course, all the new Orc stuff is finally here, and it all looks so good. It's so exciting. I can't wait to dig into this. Now, we're only going to put the Wartrike together today because I feel like everybody's got the buggies. You kind of get the buggy thing down. No need spending 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours scraping these down and showing you all the gotchas. I'm sure we can see a lot of it. I already have my favorite. Find out. Stay tuned to find out which one is Rob's favorite. Oh no. Fun fact, I used to actually play Orks about 8 years ago or so. And one of the things I struggled with was the War Boss on bike. So we're definitely... That's my personal favorite right now. That's not a buggy, but I have another buggy, and I'll tell you why here in a second. So we're going to take a look at the dice and the data cards first, because there really isn't much to that. It's just the dice and data cards. So the data cards themselves are $15. The dice are, these ones actually I think are $20. I didn't even look it up, but I'll tell you why I like those here in a second too. All of the buggies here are $45. It comes with a single sprue that you're going to see in this box. Now, of course, it could be in the double sprue fashion, the halvesy sprue as I like to call it, and been in a smaller box, but they reserve that for, like, you know, troops and stuff like that. So it looks, I like the presentation here with the box and all the tracks and everything. And then the Mech Boy Workshop is $40 and comes with 4 of those halvesy sprues. So it's technically 2 of these sprues right here, but it's a kind of a one-of-a-kind thing, so you're not going to buy more of it. Like we said, GW tends to price things differently based on how many you need in your army, as we showed in the Speed Freak box unboxing price strategy kind of video type deal, and I think a lot of that holds true with these right here. So first up, the Orc data cards, $15 US, and it's going to come with a ton of things you need in here. We love game aids here on the channel. I don't know why they haven't come out with the full-on War Scroll cards like we saw with the Imperial Knights. I had such high hopes. They actually came in the Custodes limited edition box as well, a limited edition Codex box, collector set. You also got data cards for all the Custodes stuff in there too, but we haven't seen them yet, so maybe that'll be some sort of release here next summer or so. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. So this is going to come with all your tactical objectives, 29 stratagems, 6 psychic powers, and everything else that you're going to need for your Orc army here. It doesn't come with any of the clan cultures or anything like that, but I like the layout overall. For 15 bucks, these have been getting better and better and better since 8th edition, and I think they're kind of a must-have depending on how complicated your army is to play. So there's kind of a look at some of the psychic power ones, and then your stratagems, and then your tactical objectives, and then all of those are going to have the different clip art on the back depending on what it is, and then they are. So very cool, definitely worth the money right there. Cannot recommend those enough, although personally, again, I'd like to see the data sheets. The dice are indeed $20 US, and I like them. They look like kind of like something I would put in my whiskey. Very earth tone, very orky, almost like mechanical and rust, but translated into a more appealing kind of theme here. Now, they aren't those square edge ones. The square edge ones usually seem to be reserved for the $30 price tag right there. They seem a little light here that I'm tossing them around in my hand, and there's chunks cut into everywhere on here, and I'm not sure how that's going to translate into good or bad rolling. However, reading them seems to be pretty easy. I mean, boom, that's 4, boom, that's 3, boom, that's 2. You could say that's 1, or this is 1. I would say that's probably 1, and then the Orc symbol is 6 right there. But they feel a little light. I don't know if I like that personally. But as far as rolling goes, ooh, that was really bad. And let's just try it again, a couple. Still pretty bad. Well, I guess there's a couple 6s in there. They just seem too light for my liking here. And they're not square edged, and they got all these chunks cut in them, so I'm not sure. I think they're going to be very unpredictable. I don't like that bobble there at the end, but I digress. They do seem to be at least made well. The resin's cured good. We've seen in the past here where we've had those translucent dice and the resin was actually seeping in the package as I unboxed it, which was kind of a kick in the pants. But GW usually has pretty good service, and you can always get replacement stuff from them in such instances for sure. The Mech Boy Workshops, pretty interesting because of the fact that it is a piece of terrain and it is air quotes functional in game. Of course, you know, people will argue I don't think it's that competitive. I think it's neat. And we'll look at the build here in a second. It's 80 points in game, and of course it does have its own set of rules. It's $40 US, and inside of it you're going to get these nice big chunky sprues here. Like I said, 2 halvesy sprues, or 2 sets of halvesy sprues. Now, if you have keen eyes, you will notice that these 2 on the right, I think, yes, were the other halves of the Speed Freaks box that just came out last week. So that is a little bit of a kick in the pants, I suppose, value-wise, that we were talking about that game. However, it is kind of neat that they come in here for $40 US. So we already showed you these. These just kind of set up a perimeter around the side of the workshop itself. Build-wise, I really like this train. It's pretty neat. It's actually movable / posable on the tabletop here, and it's got lots of little kind of Easter eggs in it. So you've got this kind of bulkhead kind of mech shop wall here that's going to set up for the big grab-a-claw there at the top. A couple of little ladders and things to get up there to maintain it. Hanging some tool racks right there. And these little, I forgot what that thing right there is for. We'll find out here in a second. The actual workshop desk or bench right there. And then you've got the A-frame that has little wheels on it, so you can kind of move it around. And you've got the top right here. You got to have a banner pole, of course. Going over to here, you can see where you can actually put the wheels on top of the A-frame up here onto this I-beam and reposition it kind of throughout as you need to kind of hang engines or something like that, or set up neat little dioramas. The grabby claw kind of goes together and rotates around if you don't glue it down, and you can hook or unhook one of those engines, which I thought was pretty neat. And then there's some of the bigger, larger tools. Looks like, was that crescent wrench? Can't exactly tell. A box of ammo or doodads or gubbins or something like that. And then the overall look to it right there, and the rules. Now, rules wise, we're not really going to get into it, but it doesn't function much differently than the Knight piece of terrain, which pretty much I've literally never seen on the tabletop. So here's kind of a look at the grab-a-claw arm, some of the larger tools. So you can see right here. Actually, I have an orc here somewhere. Where is he? What is the lad? Okay, there he is. So here's your standard size orc. So you can see it, not exactly suited to be normal boy size. Definitely going to need a mech with some sort of arm or something like that. You've got this rock saw kind of thing. The big grabby arm looks really neat. This is part of your A-frame right here. You got your engine block that hangs, and the rotator right up there. Here's the tool bench, and then you've got some of the other components right here. This the wall, your hangy tools. Oh, there's your A-frame. I apologize. I got that wrong. And then here's the part that makes up all of that. Where are the wheels at? I wanted to see how sturdy they were. Oh, there they are right there up at the top. So they kind of look like railroad wheels, and they look very sturdy. Okay, nice big chunks. Now there's lots of little Easter eggs on here. If you can kind of see, there's a Citadel seam scraper right there. Some other little gubbins and things like from Land Raiders, wrenches. There's this like kind of corkscrew drill thing right there, normal size, normal human pliers that the Tooth Fairy would bring. And you got all sorts of different little stuff on here. Various wheels, tanks, power packs for a las cannon, multi-laser, Land Raider turn signals, all sorts of different things right here. You can spend a good bit of time looking at it all to find all those Easter eggs. But overall, I think it's a neat kit and would definitely add to any scenery piece you're doing. First war buggy we're going to look at is the Megatrack Scrapjet. This is the one to make everybody's dreams come true and fly away for the orcs. It looks cool. I didn't even realize there was this little gunner in the back right there. And it's just very neat to see all the little things on here. Now this is, I'll be honest, because that's what you're here for probably. This is kind of my least favorite of all of the buggies. I do like the out-of-box experience that you slide this out. You get the little tray, you get the little instruction manual right here, right on top. And, you know, you get your one sprue and your 150 millimeter round. Remember, this is not a Knight size base. It's actually smaller. So personal preference time, is it a cool looking model? Yes. Is it, revolutionary? I've never seen anything like it before? Yes, absolutely. Do I like it? No. And here's why I don't like it. I don't like how a lot of these kits, it's becoming more and more focused on the computer slicing and the non-customizability, as opposed to being able to mix and match and put parts on different things. That's what Orks were all about. Give me a chassis that I could throw some junk on top, or kind of mix and match it throughout of each. My example obviously is the war truck going over to the battle wagon. You could interchange a lot of the parts very easily. But this, it's just like computer slices and things, and you got half sliced together dudes, and there just doesn't seem to leave a lot of areas for customizability or conversion, so to speak. Now, I do like that they leave the fuselage left and right half, the top wing section right there. The wings aren't, their own piece. It's just like this top kind of piece right here. I don't like that. And then over here, they do leave the landing gear and stuff off. So if you do want to do something with this kind of fighter jet Batmobile looking thing from, Michael Keaton's Batman, you could, and that's cool. And I got, mad props for that. But I don't like the fact that they kind of lock you into these assemblies, whereas you can't really do a whole lot of interchangeable things between the two. You build the gunner in there, so he's going to be kind of hard to paint in my opinion. I do like the flyboy. I like the posing. I like all that. We never seen little smoke coming out the back of anything like that before. I mean, the ammo we've seen, but that's new, and I like that, and I respect that. The treads are their own thing. The tires on this one actually are cool because they're like complete left and right halves that snap onto there. So you can kind of mess with this and change this around if you really want, and convert it and make it look a little different. And I like that, and I definitely respect that. Now let's take a look at the sprues. So here it is, just like the one sprue. It is a little bit smaller than you would imagine. They are the buggies. They are on that 150. So, an Ork boy basically goes inside of it, which makes sense. But, I was kind of, so they're truck size-ish, give or take. The treads look great. All the detail is there. You've got all the wheels and stuff. It looks like everything's done on this plane. So you might not have quite as much flash, I suppose. We will check that here shortly when we do the Wartrike. But, and you got a nice detail fur jacket right there and all the stuff that you would expect. The instrumentation panel looks great. And that's pretty much it. You got the turbine and everything, or the intake right there, and good kit. Good looking kit. And then we've got the Rucka Truck Squig Buggy. This one, little on the fence about this one too. $45 kit, brand new. It's got the out-of-box Ubi experience here with the little slide-out tray and the instruction manual at the top. It is very well detailed. Yes, I will give you that. It looks great. I love it. Just very cool on all its design and everything. It's got lots of crew members in here. The little Ben-Hur, kind of buzzsaw blades coming out right there. And there's your single sprue, which we're going to take a look at here in a second. But I don't like how, again, you're locked into making it a certain way. Even the wheels themselves are part of this. Like, they're kind of all locked in. Oh no, I guess these ones are. Okay, I take that back. So I'll show you that here in a second. But you've got this kind of armored scoop chassis, and then you just kind of start building things onto it. Very unlike the last one, of course. So you've got all that, and then the bulkheads go together. These tires actually are one single piece, so they will kind of go on either buggy, I suppose. I thought the halves were already in here, like we saw with the Speed Freak one. So as far as that goes, but then there's lots of crewmen, which make it look great and very well detailed, and I like that. It's just like, you gotta ask yourself, do you want to paint it, right? Lots and lots of crewmen right here, almost like the Scout Storm Speeder, almost. In that regard. Now, would it look good without those dudes on it? It's really hard to say. I think you'd have to at least do the pilot, so to speak. But man, and it looks like you have to paint them and put them in before you put the top roll bar or roll cage on there. So I could see where that would get a little frustrating, having to do all that. But you gotta ask yourself at the end of the day, is the Orky Squig juice worth the squeeze? Detail wise, yeah, it's great. Look at all this, like on this little casing here, the vent, the tubing, all the little squigs in the squig hopper. Like, when have we ever seen a squig hopper? The buzz saws, very similar to the ones on the cans and such, of course. And on the inside here, great looking interior. And then there's the backs of those wheels, so they will kind of interchange on the different things. You might not have that much flash on this one either. It looks like maybe right here you're gonna have a lot, have to trim that down. But other than that, it looks like it might be a little bit easier to get this one together, probably like 20 or 30 minutes to clip it all down, scrape it, and then maybe a little bit more just to kind of put it together. You're going to have to be very careful on these heads and all of that if you decide to build all of the models. The Boondocka Snazwagon is by far my favorite of all of the new buggies, just because it is the most customizable in my opinion. So let's take a closer look at this one. So obviously, I love my conversions. I think everybody knows that by now. And here you can see it doesn't look much dissimilar from the other buggies right there, but let's jump into it real quick. So first off, you put together the engine block, which makes sense. Then underneath in the chassis area, you start to add in the axles and everything like that. All of your engine compartment and your crew compartment pilot sections and things, and there's a specific way to do it. So at this point, you've pretty much got all your interior stuff. Like if you want to do metal or something, you probably could at this point. And then you start strapping on the buggy sides, the roll cages and the battering rams and all sorts of the reinforcements and things, and the exhaust pipes and various tubings, shocks. And then you get to the tires themselves, which are the true full two-part tires that go on there. And boom, look at that. You've got a buggy, but not only do you have a buggy, you have something that seems to be have places for things. Like nothing just kind of locks in. You can slot things in if you want. You know, you can put things on the top. You don't even need to put that front battering ram thing on if you really want to. You don't have to. It's basically like a technical platform to do whatever you want. Once you get the pilot in there, you really don't need to do anything else, like put the little grot on the other side. It does have a little bit of, you know, things on the floor right there that would kind of suggest what it's supposed to be. But, you know, that's just obviously just, you know, a suggestion, man. Gabe's Workshop with a little faux pas there. It goes 1, 3, 4. I feel like there's supposed to be a 2 in there somewhere. But hey, I digress. And then up here, you can put on the armored top or leave it open topped for the look, whatever you want to do. You can put any sort of weapon in that slot hole. You can have a gunner here. I don't like that this guy is like another computer sliced in half, but I understand the space requirements for the sprue, so I'm willing to let that one slide and just be like, hey, you know what? You can put whatever dude on top you want. It's not overbearing with the amount of crew members or anything like that. But start looking at this thing and be like, man, how would this look if I took this front bumper thing off, if I took this dude off? You know, when I start looking at this, man, there's all sorts of potential here for all sorts of different things, I feel like. And that's why I like this one the most. I feel like it has the most potential for conversions. So let's take a closer look at the sprue here. And you can see where it does have the little snaz bomb thingamabobbers in the floorboards right there. But you can't really tell how you build up all the different components here. You can see where the engine goes, and you've got, you know, your shocks and struts and all your normal stuff that you would expect. Then you've got the gun, the axles. Everything looks great and very well detailed. The dudes are obviously sliced. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure that they would be able to fit in here if they didn't do that. So I can, you know, I can respect that and get around that little thing. It's just a little pet peeve that doesn't allow for that much customization in my opinion. But overall, and then there's the left and right halves of the tires, which again, they could save more space if they made them one parts like we saw there. But these tires are way more detailed than the other ones. I really like this buggy. I think you can do a lot of cool things with it outside of what it's meant to be played as. And last but certainly not least, the one kit we're going to build today, the Deffkilla Wartrike. Like I said, played Orks back in the day, always had a problem. Actually, the very first article on Spiky Bits back in April of 2009 was my Warboss conversion, believe it or not. So that's the history. That's the background of Spiky Bits. Converting out an Ork army. It was actually a looted Imperial Guard army. But I also had a non-biker version of it that I could play as normal Orks. And this guy, I always wanted something more, but I was limited by what we had at the time. And then, of course, they had that great model from Forge World as well. But, you know, I kind of wanted to do my own thing and not be locked into that. So I produced at the time what I felt like was something that looked great, but I was never truly happy with it. And seeing this trike now, well, I got really excited. So it turns out you can pretty much put any dude on the back of this thing doing whatever you really want. There's lots of room for lots of different things here. I mean, once you make the kind of the armored trike area right here, then you start adding, just kind of cobbling things onto it, like the engine, which it kind of looks more like a fan boat or something like that than an actual bike itself. You know, a lot of, you know, there's actually motorcycles on there that are basically snowmobiles with wheels, you know, down here. And you can see a lot of design elements and stuff, and they kind of coming through here too, where you can kind of pick out different design elements, which I really dig. Then you've got the front trike wheels and spokes on the forks to actually support it all, and then that kind of goes together. And of course, you don't have to put these outside little armor plates on if you don't want to, or this cowl back here. You can kind of keep it smaller looking, or you can make it bigger looking, kind of whatever you want to do. The 2-part tires that are going to have that great detail, and then of course they got the little spiky bits on the sides there to ram into folks Ben-Hur style, and all the engine building up. Then we've got the pilot himself with his gun, all the war boss on the back there with his little claw he can throw out and grab dudes. And then the little grot there, this looks like he's doing some sort of thing with perhaps loading up a little extra gas there to give it a boost, and you can put little extra gas cans on the back there for, I guess, that little grot to grab. But overall, looks like a pretty simple kit, but yet looks very, very cool and striking on the tabletop. So let's take a look at the sprues real quick. And there it is. So you've got the 2 different sets of wheels. You've got your inserts right there. Lots and lots of, look at that. This thing is almost as big as a buggy itself. The foot plate, or the armor cowling on the back. There's the foot plates. There's the armor. And there's lots of different details to pick out here. The side guns. It's got so many parts, it's really hard to tell how you get everything together. That's what instruction manuals are for. There's just so many different, well, there's the forks and there's the front. Okay, well, let's get to it and get this bad boy together and see if there's any gotchas or just how easy it is. So after just doing the instructions on the first page, I'm already seeing the basis for quite a few Orky flying machines, or maybe like an airboat or something out there. Just from this right here, I feel like not putting the struts on, not putting the front forks on, you could definitely have some fun with this. Super easy to get together to this point. No gotchas so far. Everything slots in nice and easy. Just make sure you're following the instructions. So about page 3 or 4, you're going to end up with something like this with your front forks on there. And it still looks pretty cool, and you could still make maybe something a little bit different out of it, like some sort of jet perhaps. You just have to adjust this up here because those are wheels. Position, you know, your little breakaway points as best you can and not get super exposed, but there's not a whole lot of wiggle room right there. And I was thinking I just kind of tack glued these little spiky bits, Ben-Hur rams, whatever you want to call them, onto here, because it would be a good idea to maybe paint those separate because they're going to be metallic, right? So if the tires are going to be black and these are going to be metallic, I don't know if I would glue those on, so I just lightly glued them on right there. So now we're going to hit the rest of the pipes and all sorts of things and start. This thing should start shaping up pretty quick. So from here, it's pretty much all the crew, and the driver will have the other handlebar right there. So you can definitely do a lot of different things still at this point. Oh, and check this out. There's little wheelie stabilizers right there in case too much torque back here. It'll still keep it on the ground. I didn't even notice those at first until we got to the instructions. It's pretty crazy. It's almost like they've thought of everything. When it comes to the crew, make sure you dry fit everything, because these computer slices leave a lot to be desired, and unless you get exactly the right angle, you want to be super careful right here that you get everything lined up and get a good seal. So the first big gotcha is right here, right after I talked about dry fit, and that actually came in pretty clutch underneath here, because they don't show you in the instructions, but you have to stick this half of the arm up underneath into the armpit, and then back here they don't really show you the detail, unfortunately, on how all this works. You attach this middle part to the arm itself, and then everything else kind of locks into place, and this will attach right here with that little notch. And the very next step, well, after you get the you move on to the war bike itself, they want you to put this piece up underneath here on this little support right here that you can see. And if you have the crew and stuff on here and you've already glued it down like they tell you to, that's going to be a little problematic. So just be aware, it's a lot easier to attach it from underneath here. But another gotcha too is, don't do all that if you don't attach the end right here. There's a little end bit with the barrel, so make sure you glue that down first, then attach it to this, but don't glue down your riders. One last piece of advice here is this instrumentation panel, which actually looks kind of buster, and you can't even see it once you put the driver on there, notches over the handlebar section from the driver's hand. So you have to be very careful to glue it over here so you can still separate him out and paint him separately. I'm not exactly sure why they did that. It's kind of puzzling to me. I don't exactly like it, but it is what it is. That is how they want you to put it together. And then the war boss here does his best Captain Morgan, Commander Riker pose right on the back here over the middle section of the axle, and he goes right on there, and then you put the little grot on the back, but I didn't put him on there. It's kind of wonky how he kind of fits. So he's just kind of resting up on there, just doing his little orc thug thizzle, just like any good orc war boss would be doing. And then you can eventually glue him down to your 150 millimeter base right there, 150 millimeter oval base, and everything is good to go. So a few gotchas to look out for on this bad boy, but not too bad. Definitely one of my favorite orc kits that I've ever put together, and I think I want to say I put together them all except for these war bikes right here, or these other three buggies here that just came out. So other than that, I'm definitely smitten with it. Like I said, one of the very first topics we ever covered here on the site. So that's it for this one, folks. I hope you enjoyed our unbox and build of the new Ork Wartrike, War Super Bike Trike Mans, and all the other unboxings we did for these new Orks here in 2018. It's been a blast. Had a lot of fun with this one, and can't wait to get my hands on the next kits that are coming out, hopefully Blackstone Fortress. So that's it for this one. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to be the very first to like and comment on all these videos.
Spiking bits.